There are a lot of options for email marketing software, but what Constant Contact is really good for is for small businesses who are looking to get started quickly and on a budget. Now, their pricing and freemium models change frequently, so make sure that you visit their website for the most up-to-date pricing and information. But in the meantime, let's go over what you can expect from Constant Contact. In general, there are a few different tiers. Typically, you can get a basic account for free, which as of the creation of this video comes with email marketing up to a certain amount of times that you can send, and list or contact management. Now, they have other tiers at a cost, which will typically include more advanced options such as automation, website builder, landing page creation, event management and marketing, e-commerce, website hosting, and support. What we're going to accomplish today is to give you a brief overview, and yes, I realize that this is a long video and it still is a brief overview because Constant Contact is very powerful. And in this, quote, brief overview, we'll be doing several things for our fake business called Happy Puppies Dog Walking with Constant Contact's tools. First, we'll be creating our email list. Then we'll be adding context. Next, we'll be creating a landing page to drive leads. Then we'll create an email to announce our business and qualify leads that we get from that email. Next, we'll review Constant Contact's reporting capabilities and see how our campaign did. If you find this video helpful, please click on the like button and subscribe for more tutorials. Doing so will help these tutorials reach others who might find it beneficial as well. At the end of the video, I would love to hear what do you think of Constant Contact, so leave a comment below. Let me know if this is something you've used in the past, if you're considering using in the future, and if you have other suggestions for email marketing software that have helped you accomplish your goals. Let's get started. We're going to go right to Email Plus. Now, here, it's going to ask us to create an account. And as you see, as you adjust the list size, so this list size refers to the amount of contacts that are in your list. If you're just starting out, you're going to be at the 0 to 50 level, but let's adjust it and see how it looks. So you can see that it does get quite a bit more expensive when there's more emails in your list. So let's keep it at 0 to 50 for now, because that's where we're at. That's probably where majority of people who have small businesses are going to be at. So I'm going to create an account. We'll go through the checkout process. I'll show you a little bit about that. So now we're on the page with the credit card information. I'm going to go through this, but I'll just show you what's on here. Just pretty standard credit card information. The good thing about Constant Contact is you can cancel at any time with no fees. Although that's pretty standard in the email industry. If you've seen some email marketing tools that actually penalize you for canceling, definitely let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about that, but I haven't heard any other companies doing that. All right, we're in. Thank you for your purchase. Log in and get started. So let's do just that. So now they do have a succession of questions that they usually ask their users. They do this to give them a little bit more information, also from a marketing research perspective on their side of things. So this is their welcome screen. What is your personal experience with email marketing? Select one. This is just so they know how to guide you. There's no real wrong answer. So I will, for myself, select that I have used Constant Contact previously. How many email addresses does your business and organization have? I'm going to say 0. Actually, I'll say 1 to 50 because I will add my own email address as that. So now this is interesting. What best describes your industry? This is not just market research. This question, if you answer it as accurately as you can, is actually really going to help you, because what they do is they will compare your email open rate with competitors in your industry, and they'll have what's called an overall benchmark. And you can see how your open rate compares against the benchmark, which should tell you how you're tracking and how you're doing in general, and give you some feedback on how you can improve. So what best describes your industry? I'm going to say for my industry for this, animal services. In this example, I'm a dog walker. Next. All right, so now we are in Constant Contact. I've done a few things in here, so there's a few things that are already filled out, but what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the basic things within Constant Contact. So if this is the first time that you're in Constant Contact, you'll see that there's a lot of options and there's a lot of things to look at. There are several main things that we're going to go over today. We're going to walk through adding a contact. We're going to walk through creating a sign-up form and on a landing page specifically. And then we're going to send an email to the contacts in our campaign. So let's first start with the contacts. If you are a new business, you're probably starting with no or very few contacts, and that's completely understandable because that's why you're doing this. You're doing this to get business and you're doing this to increase your email list. So let's go into contacts. Now you can see that I have a few contacts in here, and looking over on this email list, if you're brand new the first time in Constant Contact, you will see that there's a general interest list, and that's across the board. Everybody in Constant Contact, when they first set up their email marketing system in Constant Contact, they automatically have a general interest added to their account. Now, this from my landing page is something that I've created, but we'll walk through what it's like to create an email list. So here you'll see email lists. Now you'll see all of the active contacts. So that means that these people have not been unsubscribed. Now let's take a look at the different ways you can add contacts. Now you'll see that there's a lot of different ways. Type in one contact. That's when you get one contact. Maybe it's from a conversation you had and they said, oh, add me to your list. Or maybe they emailed you and they asked you to add them rather than going through a sign up page. So that's when you would use the one contact. Now there's another option for type in or paste a bunch of different contacts, and I'll show you what that looks like. Also, you can upload from a file. Now that's where you add from an Excel spreadsheet or a .csv. And when you add through that, you'll want to actually make sure that the columns line up with the fields. So we'll talk about the fields in a minute. Now, you may also import from Gmail and import from Outlook and other apps, but if you're brand new and if you're starting your business, you might not have all of those from Gmail unless you're using your contact list. So let's look at typing in one contact and we'll talk a little bit about the fields. This is a contact page for adding a new contact. Now here, we'll walk through adding a contact for the dog walking business. Now, let's say their first name is Sally, last name is fake last name, just for this instance. We don't need a job title or company. If it's relevant to you and if you're targeting businesses, definitely include the job title and company, but it's not that necessary. Now for the email, let's add Sally, fake last name's email, which is please walk my dog for me at gmail.com. And that's Sally, fake last name's email. I have permission to send Sally, fake last name's email at please walk my dog for me at gmail.com. Last time we talked, she told me I could do it. So I have permission to send. So now you can select add to email list. So right now, if you're new, you'll see just interest. Now again, from my landing page was something I set up. So general interest, we'll select that for that. There's a whole bunch of different other options. You can add a phone number, work number. If you're using this as a CRM tool, which is basically a customer relationship management, it's probably really helpful to add a phone number, but we're going to skip that for now. So now additional contact fields. This is where it gets kind of exciting, I think. There are multiple different contact fields that you can add. So really you can add any sort of contact fields that you want associated with these records. So if I'm a dog walker, Sally's first name, last name, and email are definitely important to me. Her phone number is probably important. Additionally, I might want to know her dog's name. I might want to know the number of dogs that she has, and maybe I want to know her work schedule. So I've already populated the dog's name field in here. So let's select Sally's fake last name dog thing. So if you have this person's dog's name, you can actually add it in there. So Rufus is Sally's dog's name. So there's a couple of fields that we talked about adding that we haven't added yet. So they're probably going to be a text field. You might find use for a date field too, but let's do a text field. So let's say that Sally, we want to know her work schedule. So, and this would apply not only to Sally, but this would actually apply to every contact in your Constant Contact. So work schedule, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Once we hit save, she'll be added to our general interest list. There's something else we can do, and really the sky is the limit when it comes to this. Now, this is tags. Now, tags is another way to hyper target and hyper organize your contacts within Constant Contact. So I've created a couple tags already. Now, in this instance, if I'm a dog walking company, I might find it helpful to tag dog owners at some point by small dogs, or maybe I want to tag them to where I met them. The reason why you do this is that you have your main interest list. You have your general interest list, you have whatever list you want to create. But then let's say you want to send an email to people who specifically have small dogs. Perhaps small dogs have different walking needs than big dogs. So you can add tags as you go, but in this instance, let's just say that Sally has a small dog. Maybe instead of a small dog, we want to add a new tag. So Sally has a big dog. Let's create a tag for that. So Rufus, let's say Rufus is the big dog. So let's apply this. Sally, fake last name, has Rufus, who's a big dog. You can add additional notes, but that's not typically that helpful. It's really just the tag that's helpful. Now, you may want to add a note for yourself for future reference. This doesn't come up in reporting or anything, but it's really just like, oh, I met Sally at the rescue benefit, something like that. So that's helpful for you when you look back later as more of a CRM management tool and you look back at Sally's account. But from a reporting and campaign sending perspective, that won't actually come up. So if that's it, let's save Sally, fake last name. All right, so now she's in there. Now let's go back to our contacts. Okay, so now you'll see fake last name, Sally, her email shows up. We didn't add a company or city. You can actually customize this too. You can add specific source, so it will tell you when you added them, who added them. Maybe you want to know if they added themselves. Now, one of the things that I don't like with Constant Contact at this point is that you can't show specific tags in this field. However, you can go down here and you can look at the tags and you can see all of the dog owners who have big dogs, all the dog owners who have small dogs. So that will show you that. Now let's type in or paste contacts. So this is where you have multiple contacts. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can enter the contact details one by one. Additionally, you can paste names and emails, and you'll just need to make sure that they're comma separated or in different cells. So you can literally just copy and paste from an Excel file into here. It's actually really helpful. It takes a lot less time than entering the contact details. But in here, you can actually select some of your custom fields like dog's name and work schedule. Now, this isn't the most effective way to do this. It would be a lot more effective to do it in an Excel sheet, but it's the same in Excel sheet. You would have columns that should match each of these fields, and you'll just have email address, first name, last name, dog's name, work schedule. You'll upload it and it will ask you, and you'll actually see a screen very similar to this, and it will ask you to match the fields up if they don't match perfectly. And then you can match them up, it will import them, and it will let you know when it's done. And you can actually see in the activity when they have been done. So if you have a major import or export over the last few days, you can actually see that if you have 1,000 emails that you're adding, it's probably going to take a little bit of time. It will take a few minutes. So you can actually check back here. Additionally, once you've been sending emails for a while, you may have the displeasure of having users unsubscribe. It happens. Sometimes people want to clear out their inbox. It's totally normal. So those individuals, you will see them pop up in unsubscribed down below. So we haven't sent any emails. We haven't had anybody unsubscribe yet. So they're all inactive. Now that we have our contacts set up, let's go in and create a sign-up form. There are multiple types of sign-up forms that you can create, but there's one in specific that we're going to focus on in this video. So create sign-up form. These first two, pop-up and inline, are extremely helpful if you already have a website developed. What you would do is you would create these sign-up forms. Constant Contact would spit out the code that you would then copy and paste into your website, or you would send to your web developer, and they would input it for you. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at the lead generation landing page. Now, this is what I'm particularly interested in this scenario. As a dog walker, I'm bootstrapping my business. I have yet to create a website. If I've used Constant Contact, I don't need to create a website right now. I can actually just have a lead generation landing page to send people to from my email newsletters and from social media. So let's get into it. When you think about your customers, you're going to have what's called a funnel. Now, at the top of the funnel is people that you have just met that somehow have heard of your business but haven't been in contact with you one way or another. Slightly lower than that would be the people who sign up for your newsletter list. And then below that would be the individuals who are interested in your businesses. So they're not only on your newsletter list, but they're ready for your services. So we're going to focus on that. The method that we use to create this lead converting page can be used in your newsletter sign up page too. It's really the same process, but I'll walk through just for this instance what it's like to create an actual lead conversion page with Constant Contact on a landing page. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to rename this. Now, the edit doesn't pop up right away, but you can see that we can rename this. The reason why we're renaming this is for archived purposes. So when we archive our campaigns, this will actually show up as a campaign, and you'll see it in a minute. But if we have this organized and named well, it's going to save us a lot of time in the future. So let's give it a name. Let's call it lead converting landing page. Save. All right, so now here you see there's a lead generation page. This is the page that the users would see, and we're going to customize this in a minute, but this is what they'll see when they go to your lead generation page. They'll have an opportunity to sign up. Once they sign up, this is what will pop up. The thank you for signing up page, just a confirmation to let them know that it's gone through, which is helpful for them. So let's go back to lead generation page. All right. Now, when we want to customize it, we're going to be looking over here at the left, the content. So you can edit the content. You can edit the logo, stay in touch, description. Then we're going to edit the overall design. And then we will be editing the contact fields. And finally, any other settings you want to set, custom URL, an additional list, which we'll be creating those. So let's get into editing the content first. Now, this is a generic page. It has no images. You're going to want to choose your logo. So I have the logo preloaded in here, but if you don't have a logo preloaded, what you'll do is you'll go to upload files and you'll come to this page, upload to your library. And your library is where you'll be storing all of the images and the files that you reference in your emails and in every campaign that you do will be stored here and easily referenced for later. So you can just literally drag and drop, really convenient, right into here. But we've already done that, so we're going to go back. We're going to grab this Happy Puppies logo because that's the name of our business, and we put it in. Voila. Shows up nice. Looking at our content, this is a whole video in and of itself, really, is how you word the content on your page. But just for simplicity's sake, we're going to keep it as simple as possible. We're just going to make some quick updates to it. So the headline, sign up to stay in touch, isn't really relevant to our lead converting landing page. It would be, now the reason why we say this is that it's always helpful to let the users or potential customers know what's going to happen after they sign up. So relate to them, tell them what's going to happen with this, and then tell them what's going to happen after they sign up. So now the button, sign up, again, is not relevant. What's really relevant in this situation is what you want them to do, which is contact me to learn more. So by then they've opted in, and this also helps you know that your leads have already been a little bit validated by this page. So they have literally here told you, contact me to learn more. Now, let's look at the thank you page. Thanks for signing up. Again, it's not really relevant. So we can say something like, now you'll want to get even more specific if you can in this description about what's going to happen next. But again, we'll leave it here with, we will reach out to you soon. All right, so let's go back to the content editing. So we've got the content. It looks great. Now let's look at the design. So the logo was already added in the content, but we can choose a background image. We can change the color of the background. So there's a couple images here from some past things that I've done, but let's walk through ConstantContact's stock image gallery. Now they have a very rich stock image gallery. In this situation, we're looking for a pattern. So a pattern, let's do a search. There's a bunch of different options, and all of these are available for you to purchase and use. But rather than paying $8 for these, since you're already paying per month, definitely take advantage of their free images. So these are the free patterns that you can choose. My branding is brown and blue, and this blue is pretty close to my brand, and I want a pattern, so I'm going to select this. Free, then you have to agree to their terms of use for that, which is standard. Done. You can see I've done this a few times. So let's insert this. There we go. You can also edit the fonts. You can change the font sizes, 18. I like 22. Now we can make this 24 again. You can make the body size smaller or bigger. Again, for buttons, maybe you want to make it a little bit different of a color. So they actually have suggested colors in here, but in this one, I kind of want to go with a different one. So I like contact me to learn more because in blue, because it stands out a little bit. Okay, so there's a design. Now, this is where we get into the meat of the contact page, the contact form. It has a standard contact form already included, but let's think about our dog walking business and what kind of information we might want to gather. We definitely want email. There's no way around it. Constant Contact absolutely requires it. First name, yes, we want to require it. Let's say last name. Yeah, maybe we do want last name. Now there's a few things we can add as well. So phone number, in this situation, let's say that I'm going to be calling the individuals that provide their phone number. So I might want to make that required too. Additionally, city, I want to make sure that I'm close to them, so I can make that required. One rule of thumb for contact pages is the fewer fields, the better, because you want to make it as easy as possible for people to tell you that they're ready to buy your services. So let's keep this simple. Let's add our custom fields. So we have work schedule. I want to know what their work schedule is, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to make it required. And then dog's name, not required, but nice to have. Okay, so we do have a few fields here, but that's okay. So we take a look at it. I like what I see. We're not quite ready to publish, but let's try and publish and see what happens. Publish. Oh, something went wrong. We need to select a list where your contact will be saved. Now this is really helpful. So let's return to editor, and then we can see under settings, there is an error. If you were to click here, you can see the general list that they've already created, but let's create a list for this specifically. So I'm going to call this lead list landing page create. So this is kind of neat because you can actually create a custom URL. It adds spring because that's the theme, but we can change it. So the custom Constant Contact URL for this would be dog walking services. Let's call it that. So let's see when we publish what the Constant Contact custom URL looks like. Right. So this is the view that you would see in your campaigns page. Once you want to go back and you want to see how this lead converting landing page is going, you can actually go back. You can check on this. So when people sign up through this page, they'll show as the number of subscribers. You can see who has visited your page too, which is extremely helpful because these two numbers together will give you your conversion rate, which is the holy grail of online marketing, is finding your conversion rate and optimizing your page for conversion rate. Typical conversion rates are somewhere around 3 to 4%, but those vastly vary by industry. But if you're getting a conversion rate of 1%, that means that you know that you need to go back into this landing page and rework your copy, maybe even rework your design. But honestly, there's not a lot to do in design-wise. It's probably going to be related to your copy. Perhaps it's somehow confusing or it's not hitting them right. So this conversion rate is extremely helpful in telling you whether you've worded your landing page in a way that resonates with your target audience. So now that we have this, let's create our first email campaign to promote and get conversions. So we'll go over to campaigns. So you can see here that I did a landing page earlier, and that shows up. That's one of the campaigns. And then the lead converting landing page, which is the one that we worked on together, is showing up. And here it will show you the number of visits and the number of subscribers. You can unpublish it, you can copy it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create our first email to drive people to the lead converting landing page. So create. Now, they have a lot of different templates. I personally like using their basic templates. So then this way you're kind of starting from scratch. They have the overall template and the overall design there, but you're not worrying about having to replace other images and customize it for yourself. So let's take a look at a couple of the different template options and see what might be the most helpful for us. If our overall goal is to get potential customers to sign up on the lead generation page that we created, we might want something like this. So when you come in here, there's a quick guide that shows you how to drag and drop items, which is pretty helpful. You can watch it and see you can just drag images right into these different modules. You can move things around, resize things. Extremely helpful. So first things first, let's give this a name so we can archive it and organize it appropriately. So this campaign name, let's call it lead generation / announcement email. So the campaign name is something that's just going to be internal to you. Your customers won't see it. So now that we've got our email ready to start designing, the first thing that we'll do is we will take a look at our email settings, specifically the subject and their pre-header. Now, there is a whole school of psychology on email subjects, but in essence, what you really want to do is you want to have an understanding of your target audience's values. What do they care about? And also ask yourself what you're trying to accomplish with this email, because you'll want to have a subject line that both speaks to their values, but also tells them what they're going to find in the email and helps you accomplish your goal of your email. So for this one, I chose a subject line of looking for a dog walker, look no further. Now, this is a very simple email subject. If I really wanted to send this announcement email, I would probably spend another hour really honing in on the subject, especially if I had a large audience that I was sending to, because the more targeted the subject line is, the more likely your audience is to actually open the email and be interested in what you're going to say. So I think that this accomplishes what we're looking to do today in this tutorial. But again, I highly recommend you put a lot of thought into your subject line, especially your announcement email. Also, you do have the capability to do something called A/B testing. Now, if you haven't heard about that, don't worry. We're going to go over that later. You actually have the ability to test different subject lines with your audience before you send the email, and then you can see what resonates with them and then take that information and use that in future subject lines. So for now, we're going to go with this subject line, looking for a dog walker, look no further. And underneath this, you'll see that there is a pre-header. So here, take a look at how it looks in this email. Constant Contact automatically generates the subject line and the pre-header so you can see it live. So let me show you just an example. It's really helpful to see what your users are going to see when they get your email. So now you don't want to miss this. Was actually a pre-header that was automatically added by Constant Contact. Again, think about what additional information would be helpful to your users and put it in this pre-header. Subject lines, you don't want them to be too long. Pre-headers, you want them to be less than the subject line, just something to grab their attention and get them to open the email. Now, from name. From name is Happy Puppies. That's the name of our business. I highly recommend that you have it from either the name of your business or your name, whatever your audience will know you as. This is how it will come up. So I chose to use Happy Puppies because that is our company name and that is what our users know me as. So and last but not least, on this page, you'll see from address and a reply address. If you've been following along in Constant Contact with me, this will probably look a little bit different for you. Constant Contact will ask you to verify your email address before you send from it. So they just want to make sure that the email address that you registered in the system with, that you signed up with, is actually your email address. So you'll just need to go into your email and verify the address. You'll just need to click on a link to do that. It's pretty simple. It will take you an additional 10 seconds to do it, but it's required before you can actually send your email. Since I've already done that, I don't have the warning showing up here, so we're actually good to go with selecting our addresses. Now, if I had a team that was bigger than myself, it might make sense to have the from address from me, and then the reply address to a different email that went to several people. So that's really where the value of having a from address be different from your reply address. And here you have the opportunity to add another email, but you'll need to verify the email. So it clicks verify, but what it will do is it will require you to go into your email and verify it. So you need to go through those steps. But again, it's really useful to do this. I highly recommend that if you have separate emails, you do it. But otherwise, once you verify this and once you get this information in here, you'll be all set to move on to the next step, which is designing the email. So let's save this and let's move on to the email design. So now that we've got our subject set up, let's take a look at customizing this email. Now, if we know our overall goal is to get some awareness of our business and our landing page, I'm probably going to make this a little bit simpler. So you can see these modules are pre-built. I didn't have to build them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this bottom one because I know that I will not be including that. So you can actually delete it and you can see it's very clean the way it has it set up. If I wanted to add another image, I can add it right there. Little image pops up. I'm not planning to do anything with that, so we can delete it. There's all sorts of other things you can add, like you can add a specific layout. So let's say we wanted a double column right there. You can add it. Again, not looking for that in this, but it's so easy to just drag and drop. It's pretty impressive. Additionally, when we go to images, we can see all of our uploaded images here, which is really helpful. And design. We can select the design much like we did with the landing page. Let's add our logo and let's just drag it and drop it there. Happy puppies. Now let's go back to build. So it's always a good idea to start with the content first and then build the design around that. So we know we're going to have our logo up there. We want to raise awareness of that. And what we want to do here is say announcing happy puppies dog walking. And we're excited, so we're doing an exclamation point. And then here we could type a little bit about our business, what they hope to get. Now there's a call to action link. I personally don't like call to action links as links. I like them as buttons. So let's say done here. So you notice that that link is gone. So what we can do is we can actually drag the button over just like this. And instead of visit our website, which is just a generic thing, we can actually edit this. You can change it right here from visit our website to learn more. Learn more. Now, we have a light blue kind of theme going on, so we can make it stand out with this. And let's say you want to have a little bit of about you. So about happy puppies. And here you might write a little bit of a bio. If you have a link to another page that you want to send them to, maybe you have like a LinkedIn or something, you can send them there. But for now, we'll just get rid of that. And let's replace this image. So you can see that you can just click on the image and you can replace it. Now we don't have anything to replace it with, so let's go to the stock gallery again. And let's see what they have for dogs. That's a good one for about us, for a dog walking company. All right, so now it's been added to our library here, and you can see we're in the library. Let's select this and let's insert it. All right, so about happy puppies. This is a little about us. Here we have our call to action, looking to energize your dog. Learn more here. Let's make this a little bit darker too. So if we want this darker, we can select that. That looks good. So let's look at the color scheme. Now, we have a pretty cool color scheme with happy puppies. We've got brown and we've got like a deep blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test out customizing a few different things. Let's actually look at this. Ooh, that looks good. So that's all the headlines are that. And then the buttons and dividers. We can make all the buttons and dividers that color. That looks good. I like it. And we can keep this down here dark gray. So now if we don't have a website, that's fine. We can take that off there, but you'll want to customize happy puppies. And now sometimes it doesn't keep the same color that it had before. So you highlight it, go back in here, there you can see it. All right, so we have our first email here. I'm feeling pretty excited about this as a business owner. I can't wait to get our people to the Learn More page. So the last thing that we will need to do is link this button to a landing page. It's loading. So Learn More, that will link them to, and again, we have a few landing pages. This one I created in this video. So lead converting landing page. Now, enable link click segmentation I definitely recommend for something like this, especially if it's a lead generation page, that you enable this, because what it will do is you can segment the individuals who clicked on learn more, but maybe weren't quite ready to convert. So they're kind of halfway between email subscribers and leads. That way you can segment them and send separate promotions to them later. So select a contract list. None of these actually apply to the individuals who click the lead converting landing page. Maybe they subscribe, maybe they don't. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new list, and we're going to segment people directly to that list. So we're going to call this list Learn More Clickers. Learn More Clickers. Insert. All right. Now done. There's one other thing that can really help you connect with your readers and your audience is a custom greeting tag. So rather than just a generic email, you can have it say, Dear Sally, or Dear whatever the name is. Now, obviously, everybody's going to have different names. So what you can do is you can go into Insert, and you can select greeting tag. Dear first name. And then you can also select a secondary greeting. So let's say that you don't have their first name saved in for whatever reason. You can always just have it say greetings. You can change this to whatever you want it to say. And it doesn't have to say dear. It could say anything that you want it to say in this salutations right there. So let's insert that and see how it looks. Great. Let's try another custom detail. So let's say that you want to enter contact details. Now, let's say you want to enter the dog's name. Insert. Dog's name. Will be very happy. And if we want to edit this, we can actually go back and edit it, because if you don't have the dog's name, you can always say your dog, insert, will be very happy. So done. Now we've got our content to a good spot. We feel good about what we're saying. We've changed our name down here. Now we have an opportunity to edit our social media icons. Now don't forget this. This is a really good opportunity to stay in touch with your users. The generic ones that they have are Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. You can add a couple other networks too. You can add Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can also select the styles. So maybe you want them to pop a little bit more. And maybe we find out that that looks good, although the red looks a little distracting. So I might actually select this. How does this look? That does not look good. Yeah, you know what? With this, from a graphics perspective, I actually think they were right on the mark with the gray. Otherwise, red stands out too much, and Pinterest is not the main call to action. We don't want people's eyes to go there. We want their eyes to go to learn more. So you would just copy and paste your Facebook URL, and it would just go right in there. We're all set with that. You can see my generic business. They do make you input an address. Now, be very, very mindful of this. I suggest that everyone who has a Constant Contact account, who has an email account, create a PO box. You probably don't want to be sending everybody on your email list your personal home address. If it's where you conduct your business and if it's where you meet customers, then that's a different story. But I highly suggest having a PO box or some professional address to put in there and not your own. So before we send this, we're getting really close to sending. There's another thing we need to do, and we will need to send a test email. Every time you send an email, I highly recommend you send a test email. Just send it to yourself. You'll notice that this is my generic business test email at gmail.com that comes up. So I will send it to myself. Also, this is very helpful. This is what it will look like to users on desktop. This is what it will look like to users on mobile. So we can see already that it looks pretty good, pretty happy with it. Now let's send this now. So now I'm in my email, and here we can see the customization come through. So that's really nice to see. I didn't put my dog's name in, so it just says your dog will be very happy, but the customization did come through okay. Let's click the links. Learn more. Now again, this is preview mode because it hasn't been sent, but no information will be sent. All right, so that looks good. So now we're back into the editing. Preview checked through, everything looks good. So we're good to go on to the next phase, which is the final phase of preparing to send the email. So now we're in here, and again, you have a chance to edit the email, but we're happy with lead generation announcement email. You can send to email list, or you can send to specific segments. Now, again, we haven't created the segments yet, but if you remember from before, we will be creating a segment of people who click on that link. And while I clicked on that link in my email, it was just a test, so that did not get registered, but let's do an email list. General interest, we've got 3 of us in there, looking good. Subject. Now we've written the subject before, but there's one thing we can do is to A/B test. Now this is interesting. A/B test is something that's used a lot in advertising, and basically what A/B testing is trying different copy to see what resonates the most with your target audience. So I'm particularly curious about how emojis will look. In this situation, let's go back to selecting no A/B test, and we will select emojis. So I sadly don't see a dog emoji. If you go in Constant Contact and you see a dog emoji, leave a comment below and let me know, because then I'm gonna be really excited. And I'm gonna feel bad that I missed it, but I don't see it. So in this one, I'm going to select this, look no further. And now let's do an A/B test. And let's copy and paste this. And let's A/B test how it looks without emojis. So we can select how many people we want to get it. I would recommend doing a 50-50 split. Just to easily compare the number of users. Now again, we have an odd number of users and it's so small. So we have 3, so it's not going to be exactly 50-50, but they will get as close as possible. And we have a from name, happy puppies. The only thing we can A/B test is the subject. You can't A/B test the from name or anything, but that's fine. Now notice when it comes to email lists and segments, you can also narrow it by tag. So you can send something, we have our big dogs, we have our small dogs, and you can actually send to contacts who are only within each of those tags. So for now, we're just going to send it to everyone. We're going to just send it to all 3 in our general interest list. You can send now, which is technically more like in 5 minutes, because it will schedule it in the next 5 minutes and the system will start sending it. Or you can schedule it later, which I really like to do. I prefer to schedule it at least an hour out. That way, I found a lot of times I will want to add something after I've pressed send, and so that gives me a little bit of time to send it. Now this is Eastern time, but you can go into your settings and you can adjust. So I recommend that you adjust it to your specific time. But for now, let's just send it now. One thing to keep in mind is that if you did not do an A/B test, you would be able to send to non-openers. And what we send to non-openers means it's basically people who received your email in their inbox, but they did not open it. You can actually set it to send the email to them a specific number of days later. And I found that's incredibly helpful for continuing to be top of mind for your customers. All right, so we are all set. Everything is ready to go. Let's send now. By the way, if you feel nervous before you hit send now, you're totally not alone. I feel you in that. I've been doing this for like 15 years and I still get nervous before I send an email. So you might get nervous. It's part of it, but if you've done everything you can to prepare your email, it's going to be really strong and you're going to be totally fine and your users are going to love it. So here we go. Ready to send. Are you sure? We'll start processing your email right away. Send now. So now we just wait. So now that it's been a few minutes since we've sent our email, we can take a look at the reports that Constant Contact gives us. Now, it takes Constant Contact a few minutes to start recording the activity and then spit out the report. So at this point in time, it's been at least 10 minutes since the email was sent. So we can take a look and look at a few key things here. Now, when it comes to reports, there are several things to look at. The reason why we look at these things, and I'll go into it in a minute, but the reason why we look at these things is that it gives us feedback. It lets us know how relevant the content is to our users and how targeted it is to our users. And also it's good data to give us feedback on how we can improve our emails in the future. So let's take a look at a few key things here. Right here at the top, you'll notice open rate and click rate. And what it does is it gives you a percentage of the total emails sent versus the total of opened. So right now it's very simple. It's one email sent, one email opened. And I know if you've been following along, you'll notice that we had 3 emails that we sent, but the 2 of the emails were actually just something that we input into the system just to test things. So what Constant Contact does is it senses that those aren't real emails and it will actually not count those in the report. So they didn't technically bounce, they just weren't actually real emails. 1 open and 1 sent gives us an open rate of 100%. Now this is a very simplified version that I'm showing you, but let's add a little bit complexity to it just to help you understand as you work through Constant Contact. So let's say that you sent 5 emails, 3 people opened the email, and then out of the 3 people that opened, 1 person clicked on a link within your email. So that would actually be a click-through rate of 33% because it only registers the click-through rate from the actual open, so not the overall total open emails. It's a little bit confusing, but after you send a couple marketing emails, you will pick it up, I promise. So let's take a look at a couple of these things on the page. Opens, we've gone over opens, right? This is just the number of people that actually opened the email. Sent, this seems straightforward, but it's not quite that straightforward. So in ours, we actually had 3 emails in the system that were sent to, but since the system registered that 1 email was the true email and the other emails were just test emails, they actually didn't get counted in the final sent amount, so it registers as 1 sent. Now, there are several different reasons why bounces happen. One of the most common reasons is that there's a typo. So let's say that the actual domain name existed. So the domain as in @url.com existed, but there was a typo in the email. So Constant Contact will actually register that as a bounce. And also sometimes vacation auto replies will provide a bounce. So as you can see, there's a lot of different issues for bounces. There's actually even other issues that you will probably never find out. And once your list gets big enough, you will get a lot of bounces. I highly recommend that you take a look at your bounce list because you might notice a few things that you can actually correct and make sure that they can get access to your newsletters. So for example, if you saw that a lot of people at a specific company were not receiving your email, you might actually reach out to your main contact there and make sure that you are whitelisted, make sure that there's no issues with their IT or with their server preventing your email from coming through. So doing that once your list grows will actually be really beneficial and make sure that you can keep communicating with your customers regardless of technical issues. So definitely check on your bounces. Now, over under clicks, we've talked about click percentage. This will also list the people who did not open, which there's none in this because we had 1 person and 1 person opened the email. Now, in every email or newsletter that is sent, Constant Contact will automatically add a link for the user to unsubscribe, which is really valuable for everyone who has an email address because maybe for whatever reason, they're finding that the email is no longer relevant to them. Perhaps their situation changed and they can no longer purchase from you. You want to make sure that they are able to unsubscribe, and that's actually a requirement. So you'll be able to see the number of people who've unsubscribed, and this will actually be an active link right here that you can click on to see who has unsubscribed. Down here, you'll see spam reports. Now, there's a lot of different ways that users can report spam. Sometimes they can report it by calling Constant Contact or emailing. Also, they can let the listed owner of the IP address that the email was sent from know that this is a spam report. Now, you want to be careful here. The last thing you want is to have a bunch of spam reports, because then you can actually get in trouble with Constant Contact. Now, the way to avoid spam reports is really just to make sure that each of your contacts have given you permission to email them. So you can do that through them opting into your email list through an email form. You can do that verbally. You can do that with them emailing you and giving you permission, but you want to make sure that you have permission, because if not, you will likely get spam reports. A lot of people in the past have purchased email lists and sent to email lists, but that's actually not recommended, since you will likely get a lot of spam reports. Your conversion rate from email to lead will be low, and it will just be a bad experience for your contact. So that's why purchasing leads is not recommended. Additionally, another great way to avoid spam reports is, once you have users that have opted into your emails, make sure that the content is always relevant to them. So if I were to send an email completely unrelated to dog walking services to my email list, I would expect to get some unsubscribes and maybe even some spam reports. So first of all, make sure that they have opted in. And second, make sure that it's actually relevant to your business and your relationship with them. So now that we've had a general overview of the reporting items within Constant Contact's report, let's look at a little exciting thing called our A/B test that we did. So this is where we would see how each of the subject lines that we tested did. So you can see we have our emoji subject line versus our non-emoji subject line. Now, if we were to do this on a larger list, we would get really valuable information. We would be able to see how many people opened it, how many people clicked within the email on each A/B test. So you can see it's this first one versus the second. Now, this information that we're looking at right here isn't completely useful because it was a test. We had one real person and we had 2 fake email addresses. But when you send your email and you divide it, again, I recommend that you divide it by 50-50 so that you can test one thing versus another. And that way you'll have the same amount of people who have been sent the email, and then you can compare which tend to open. It's going to give you a lot of really valuable information about what's relevant to your audience. Then you can take that information and you can further test it in the future. So let's say that I realize that our audience actually does love emojis. So maybe in the future I can test different emojis. I can test 1 emoji versus 2 emojis, or maybe I even test exclamation points. Maybe I test different capitalization structures. Also, a word of warning, capitalizing every letter in your subject line will probably get you stuck into spam filters in emails. So when it comes to capitalization testing, I recommend testing here, how we have a sentence structure capitalization testing. I recommend testing that versus a title structure capitalization testing, where each letter of each word is capitalized as if it was a title rather than a sentence structure capitalization. So you can test in those minute details. A really good strategy is to start off testing 2 major, very different things to the same audience, and then refining as you go. Additionally, you can dig deeper into the view report. So let's see what this comes up with. Now, this is very simple. This is just one aspect of our A/B test. You can see send rate within this specific A/B test is 100%. our average send rate right here at 33% is low because we had those other 2 emails that weren't able to receive email. But overall industry standard is 94%. And that's where that information that we filled out at the very beginning about our business and what industry we're in is really helpful, because there are certain checkpoints within Constant Contact and within your email marketing experience that you can actually check and benchmark yourself against others in your industry, which is really helpful to see. And again, if we had others in this A/B test, in the first A/B, these other email addresses would come up. Now let's see what else we can do in here. Let's view. So now we're in the contact details, which is very cool, I think, because once you send your first email, you can actually see details about the contacts, you can see what list they're in, and you can see their past engagement. So here we can see that we sent the email, we can see that it was opened. If they open multiple times, you'll actually see every time they open. So if somebody opened your email like 15 times, you will be able to see every single time they open. And same thing for clicked. You can see every time they clicked on a link. So this is really valuable information, especially if it's somebody that maybe converted to the next level in your sales funnel. You can learn a little bit of information about them. If they're really interested in your business, you're probably going to see 15 to 20 email opens with them. That sounds a little strange, but it's actually not unheard of. So let's go back to this first details page. Now, if you recall, when we first created this email and we selected the ability to segment link clicks, and the segment was called Learn More Clickers. So we can actually see all of the lists that this individual is in. So we can see that, first of all, they're in the general interest list, which everybody was in. That was the list that we sent the email out in. We can see that they also clicked on the Learn More link, so that automatically segmented them to a new list. And then we can see that they filled out the landing page, so they have actually given us permission to reach out to them and talk more about our services. So it's really helpful to see what lists that each of these contacts fall into. Additionally, if you want to, you can always unsubscribe them and delete them. You have the ability to do that in here. But let's go take a look at our list really quick. Back to email details, contacts. Now, at the beginning, we had a general interest list. We now have a lead list landing page, and we can see that Amanda Testing, which was the contact we just looked at, is now in this list. So that's just an overview of how your contacts might migrate between your lists. And as your sending process and as your communication strategy gets more complicated and more complex, which Constant Contact absolutely has the ability to do, you will see more of your users in different lists, and you'll have different ways to send them customized information, which is hugely beneficial for running your business and targeting leads and growing your business as well. Let's go back to the reporting page. Here, you'll see that this looks a little bit different than the campaign reporting page. This is your overall reporting of all of everything that you've sent within the past 12 months. You can dial it down to further time frames such as 90 days, 60 days, but you can see the information that we talked about first. So sends is helpful, but here's your open rates and here is your click-through rates. Additionally, reporting will tell you what percentage of your opens were done on desktop versus tablet versus mobile. That's helpful in knowing any specific design considerations you need to make. And then if we scroll down here, Constant Contact does provide some additional information that's helpful to you. So since we've given them some information on our business, they have suggestions on how to craft and email subject lines for us, on how to improve click rates. They have a ton of information that's extremely helpful, and they give it to you at the time that you need it. That's definitely a plus with Constant Contact. And here you can see all of your campaigns. So we can go in here and we can actually click on the campaign. And again, we're taken to this individual reporting page. So that's a good overview of ConstantContact's reporting. Again, their functionality can get even more complex depending upon your needs, but this should give you an overview to help you feel comfortable with using the reporting feature to continue to customize your emails and help you meet your marketing goals. So there you have it. We have successfully created our first campaign in ConstantContact. What do you think of ConstantContact and how does it compare with other email marketing tools you've used? Let me know in the comments below.